Lisa and I welcome Sierra Sil to our podcast. Got a grumpy old man in your life? Change that. Okay, not that way. Sierra Sil Natural Mineral Joint Pain Relief with a money-back guarantee at Shoppers, London Drugs, and the best health food stores.
Head over to sierrasil.com, SIERRASIL.com. Use your code GF and get 10% off your purchase.
Well, hey, welcome to the third and last of our best of episodes, episode 42 of Gracefully and Frankly. There was a lot of work involved in finding these moments, stitching them together. I'm Erin Davis.
I'm Lisa Brandt, and we had our whole team on this, which is, well, you're listening to the whole team, so there you go.
It's us. Yep, and it's some of your favorite moments from the past 39 Gracefully and Franklys. Now, today, we are talking about something we don't talk about enough, but so many of us are affected by: hormones, what you have to hear and share with your doctor. Okay?
And I had a flag flap. It probably wasn't my proudest moment, but I'm happy to share it because it's real, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know you want to know more about when I worked at a nudist camp.
Oh, I had so many questions for you, and you were so great about answering it. And also, we're going to talk about when your toes are so tasty because your foot's in your mouth. I should have one of those Hannibal Lecter masks. Never mind the muzzle for the dog. Put one on me until I'm caffeinated.
Oh, no.
Oh, jeez.
Well, thank you to Envy Pillow for being our sponsor right out of the gate, giving you a discount too, and teaching us things about, for example, our skin.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea that our skin does so much when we're asleep. Inflammation is reduced while you sleep. Repair to damage happens while you sleep. Collagen production and the stress hormone cortisol is at its lowest. All of this combines to make your face look after itself best when you're asleep, and you'll get a better night's sleep with an Envy Pillow. And if you, for some reason, decide that it's not for you, although I've never heard of it, you've got 90 days and you can return it, and they'll clean it and donate it and give you all your money back. So
Yeah,
it's a win-win, and you simply can't lose.
I'm still not resting easy about some of the stories we're going to share again in this episode, but we're gonna.
Okay, Erin, has there been an uncensored moment for you since this piece first aired originally?
I'd like to think that I learn over time from my mistakes.
Have you seen those neighbors since the story you're about to tell?
No. Maybe they've gone into hiding. When they say, "Crazy lady coming." Yeah, that's me.
Here's that story so you can understand why.
Let us get to our dog walk this morning.
Okay.
Before I had my caffeine, Lisa, and I've got, podcast on my mind. What are we going to be talking about? It's a glorious day here today, walking along with Miss Dottie. And of course, she's checking her P-mails all the way along on the grass. And she's just having the time of her life. And we go by this house where this couple, about our age, they're silver foxes. They got all the equipment on. They're getting on their bikes. And I went by and I said, "Oh, what a glorious day for a bike ride. Aren't you grateful for electric bikes?" And then she looks down at hers and I said, Oh, that's not an electric bike. Now, before you hear what I said next, you have to know, and Lisa knows this, that we live on a mountain. Your
Right.
ears pop on your way from the main street, which is at sea level, up to the top of our mountain and our home, which overlooks the Victoria International Airport. So just know we have hilly terrain around here. So she's on her bike. I realize it's not electric. What do I say? Hope you're an organ donor. Jesus. I did.
You didn't.
I did. And this woman, I don't, she looked like she reads Miss Manners in her spare time on the bidet. So I just said, have a great ride. I mean, it's really hilly. That's why I need my electric bike, because this hill's going to kill me. Okay, bye.
Not over-explaining at all. Oh, no.
I wanted to run after her and say, what I meant was, jeez.
Sometimes you just have to let it go.
Oh.
I can understand that, though. I totally get it. It's just, sometimes you just have to save it for the room that loves you, you know?
Well, or that tolerates me, and you are both. Thank you very much. Oh, I am so excited to share this next story because I had so many questions. I mean, how often do you get to grill someone who worked at a nudist camp? And Lisa, I hope you didn't mind.
Not at all. In fact, I wrote a book about it, right, called The Naked Truth. I'm not exactly shy about my nudist camp experience. So here's how it happened. I had gone to high school and somewhere along the way had lost a credit. And I needed to make up one stupid credit.
Hmm.
I ended up having to come back. I'd already been accepted to college. I had to can all that, come back to high school to get one credit. So I had a lot of time off in the second semester and I decided to get a job. Well, wasn't there an ad? It said everything but nudist resort in it, but we knew what it was. I ended up getting the job and it was a live-in job at the Four Seasons Nature Resort in Freelton. Can you imagine my mother's reaction to that?
No, tell us.
You are not going to a nudist resort. And of course, being the bullheaded little twit that I was, that just gave me all I needed to say, yes, I am. So I packed up my milk carton of albums and some clothes and up I went. And I spent the rest of that semester and most of the summer there and just didn't care anymore that people were walking around naked. I mean, I literally wrote a book about it called The Naked Truth, but it is what you think as far as nudity goes. It's not the people you wish were nude who are nude, and it's the people you
Mm.
wish would cover back up who are the ones walking around proudly naked. And that's just the way it is because it's at its core got nothing to do with typical ideas of beauty. It's got to do with freedom and being natural and all that kind of stuff, allegedly.
So many questions. So many questions.
Go ahead.
I think as somebody driving along, seeing the signs on the highway for, was it Bear Oaks? That was another one.
That's another one. Yes, my friend Stefan who runs that, he and his wife. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is it sex all the time on the picnic benches and in the bushes?
No. In fact, there are rules you must follow. I'll give you an example. At Four Seasons, when I was there 100 years ago, there was a guy who, they had a really good gym. Like they had an amazing gym. And there was a guy who got a membership just to use the gym.
God, please wipe down that bench.
No, he would stay clothed. He would come in, use the weights, use everything, wipe everything down and leave. So it got to be a bit of a thing. And one guy would come in and he would just sit there and watch everybody.
Oh.
And he was cheerfully refunded his money and asked to leave. It's not about sex. It's about freedom. Like, I mean, there were little kids who were naked. That got to me. It was uncomfortable because there were all sorts of other adults around. These little kids are running around naked. There were some things that occurred here and there behind closed doors that I heard about or witnessed that take me away from the whole, we just want to be natural thing. But no, it wasn't an open orgy or anything like that. There was a lot of decorum and there were families there and couples, committed couples, some committed to not being committed. It was like any other town,
Yeah.
except we're a nude town.
Right. So what went on behind closed doors? You can't just drop that nugget and walk away.
It's not there anymore, but there was a very active porn industry that took place in this one cottage. So that was going on. And they were mailing out physical tapes. That's how long ago we're talking about.
Yes, go on.
Yeah. And of course, I found out about these things, and didn't just shrug my shoulders and go, hey, that's okay. I mean, a lot of it started to erode my enjoyment of being there. Another thing was that they worked us like 16 hours a day by giving us 2 and 3 hour breaks and then back on and then back off. My feet swelled up
Oh,
to twice their regular size. I went and bought nurse's shoes. There were no Crocs back then because I could barely stand. My feet hurt so bad. I was on my feet all the time, which made my dad happy because at least I was on my feet.
what were you wearing as an employee?
Well, this was the thing. It became a bit of a game among some of the residents there and attendees to try and convert me. And I had no interest in it. For one thing, I thought I had the worst, most disgusting body in the universe.
Mm.
It was nothing I would ever want anybody to see, but there's just no way I could have joined in. I just didn't. There were a couple places where you had to either have a bathing suit or whatever, but it just wasn't going to happen. They stole my clothes one time, the guys on the little team that I worked with,
Oh,
when I was in the shower. They tried a lot of different things to get me to join in the lifestyle, but it wasn't my thing. So you mentioned Bear Oaks. So Stefan and his wife, I got to know him because he does a podcast about nudism. He found my book and we talked about it. Wonderful man. He and his wife run this place ethically, wonderfully. And I went there to visit him one day in Sharon, which because my brother and sister-in-law lived there, so I was close. And I was told very nicely I would not be allowed back unless I would take my clothes off. So I've only been there once. I will never go again. So
Okay, I still have more questions. So many more questions. This may be the longest podcast ever. How old were you when you were working at this camp?
I would have been 17-ish.
Okay, so you did not get a credit for this. Going back to what you started, that this wasn't accredited.
No, this was just a job because I had the time. So it was just a paid job. Yeah.
Knowing that you, like I, were probably not pure as the driven snow at that age, did you see anything you'd never seen before?
Let me think for a minute. Well, I saw things that I would have seen later in life probably or known about later in life.
On us.
One woman who, what happened to her breasts from breastfeeding her kids and losing a lot of weight, they floated on the water in the pool.
Mm-hmm.
The changes that happen to people's bodies that I didn't know about. But I tried hard not to look at people below the neck. It was difficult, but I did because it could really get to you after a while. People are hot, so they're sweating. You could always tell that the newbies would come in and they're like, oh, my butt's sunburned. What do I do about it? Because they didn't think about putting sunscreen on. People would say, how do they carry money? Well, they buy beads and you can make a necklace out of them. And then it ends up becoming a bracelet as you spend more beads. And yeah, there was a lot to it. But you know what the best part was especially when I was younger and people would say, well, I spent a summer doing this. And I would sit back and just smile and they go, yeah, well, I had the coolest job. I spent a summer doing this. And then I'd just throw my trump card down and go, yeah, well, you know what I did for a summer? So
that's right. I'm out.
Yeah.
One more question. Were there any natural signs of attraction, by which I mean the flag at half staff? You know what I mean?
No, not that I am aware of, because people were nervous.
Oh.
I want to change that answer a little bit. During the dances that they had, there was a massive pool and this big dance floor would lower over it. It was up at the ceiling most of the time. And so they'd have these dances. And that's when people got turned on because they were in clothing. It's so backwards. It's weird. But they would see them in clothing and there would be that dancing and they're having a few drinks and whatever. And that's when you'd see people coupling up and stuff like that. Not when they were naked.
Interesting.
Weird, eh?
It is interesting.
Yeah.
Because, usually we think of clothes as sort of the precursor, the seven veils that say, if you don't know what's under here. But in this case, it was the clothes that made you more attractive. Isn't that interesting? In terms of the human psyche and sexuality.
Mm-hmm. I remember standing back with these two guys, sort of watching people dancing and going, wow, this is a really strange phenomenon. But of course, there was also booze involved.
Mm-hmm.
People are having a few drinks and, it was just cut loose time. The rest of the time, they were more interested in lying around sunning with a good book or, something like that.
Or playing ring toss with the guy in the corner. Never mind. Oh, Davis, you're so classy. Oh.
And don't ever change. But no filters during your estrogen adventure, as I recall.
Oh, don't remind me. But I will give you an update in a sec. Okay, so Lisa, you're not going to believe what I have been through to get my estrogen fix. There's this thing called the est ring, and I was due for my refill at about middle of August, so like 2 months ago. I went to the drugstore and they went, oh, sorry, these are all on back order because there was a delay in production. And so we went online and it seemed to indicate that it was up and running again, but it wasn't. And I'm going a little bit crazy here because hormones. So what ended up happening is right after the wildfires in West Kelowna, my sister Leslie, God bless her, is going to all of the drugstores in the area. I'm phoning all the drugstores to find out if they have this dang est ring. Finally, she found one. and purelated it to me. So this thing ended up costing a whack of money, but honestly, Rob would have crawled from here over to the mainland to get me one. Because as you know, there's fallout.
When you find something that works at this time of life, you clutch onto that for dear life. This is like holding on to the door when Rose fell off the Titanic. I understand.
Exactly.
Now we're talking hormones, and as usual, Erin had another question for
I know.
me.
Does it ever feel like you're like under a spotlight in an inquisition when we're doing this podcast?
Never.
Who are some of the oldest people that you saw in the nudist camp, Lisa?
Ooh, they would probably have been in their 70s, some in their 80s.
That's interesting because, as we well know, there is a lot still going on as people age, which gives us all encouragement.
Mm.
But for a lot of women, it's just not a possibility. But there are a few stories now that we'd like to share with you that could open doors for you in terms of life after menopause when it comes to your sex life. One of the things that comes with menopause, of course, are hot flashes. And, for all the guys who are listening, you can listen to this because this is something that affects you. You may well have a partner who is sitting there suffering through these things all the time, and you may want to know more about it. But this could give us all encouragement, right?
Yeah, there's supposedly issues taking hormones for some people, and we're drying up and flying away in some parts of our bodies because of the lack of estrogen. And a lot of even these supplements that women take, even though it's plant-based estrogen, it's still estrogen, and so that's got them worried. This new stuff that's come out is not a hormone, but it supposedly can help ease the symptoms of menopause, right? So this stuff called Veoza is just FDA approved. So that means it's available in the States, right? For hot flashes and some of these other things to do with menopause. So that's a really good sign because it's not hormonal. It's the first of its kind drug. But the only problem is it's really super expensive. It's like $550 a month.
Yeah. Before I started on hormone replacement therapy and I entered menopause at about 50, every time something frustrated me on the computer or I felt shame, right away I was like,
Yeah.
this jet engine of a rocket taking off. And it was like, oh. So this could be really something now if we could get the Canadian government to cover it.
Yeah, but it's kind of been a thing among women like, well, if men got menopause, no offense, man, but if men got menopause, they would have done something about it by now. There would be a fix for it.
Yeah.
This is like a really good step in the right direction.
It is. And we're not sitting here pushing hormone replacement therapy.
New?
There was a story that opened my eyes that came out in February, and I sent it on to you and to my sisters. It was in the New York Times about it. Menopausal hormone therapy was once the most commonly prescribed treatment in the United States. We
Wow.
all needed relief, or, we all have.
Wow.
In the late 90s, 15 million women a year were getting a prescription for it. But then in 2002, there was one study which was imperfectly designed that found links between hormone therapy and elevated health risks for women of all ages. So because of that one imperfectly designed single study,
Wow.
panic set in, and everybody just said, no, I'm getting off it. I'm going to stop. In 1 year, the number of prescriptions plummeted. Hormone therapy, of course, carries risks, to be sure, as do many medications that people take to relieve serious discomfort. But dozens of studies since that year have provided reassurance that for healthy women under 60 whose hot flashes are troubling them, the benefits of taking hormones far outweigh the risks. But the reputation has never recovered. About 85% of us experience menopausal symptoms, and menopausal women have been underserved, just like you said. A professor of psychiatry at University of Pittsburgh says the oversight she considers one of the great blind spots of medicine because culture tolerates women's suffering. And haven't we heard anecdotally of two people, a husband and a wife, going in for the same thing, and the husband is sent home? This was after dental surgery, I think, that my daughter-in-law was telling me about it. He was sent home with T3s or stronger, And she was sent home and told to take some Tylenol or ibuprofen because
Right.
just anecdotally, women are seen to be able to suffer higher levels of pain.
Yeah.
And it's just not fair. And I think it's really encouraging that we're re-examining that faulty study of 2002. Talk to your doctor about it. Ask them to look it up in the New York Times, and maybe even jumping into this other drug if it ever gets approved. And it's called what again, Lisa?
It's called Veoza, and it's got a long name, fezolinetant or something, but Veoza is the brand name. It's funny, a friend of ours is taking these hormone pellets. Every 3 months, she gets these pellets under her skin, and she feels like a human being again. And we were talking about it and the fact that because I have a family history of cancer, I'm not supposed to be on HRT more than 5 years. And she says, that's flawed. And I'm thinking, well, how does she know this is flawed and my doctor doesn't? That really ticks me off that my doctor isn't up on the latest when she says the latest information is that this is a flawed premise that she's operating on. And it's just, it's really hard to know where to go and what to believe anymore.
Yeah, I'm over 5 years on the hormone replacement. And after I had a medical, let's say, blip and had to have something removed, my hormones were changed and I'm still on something else. And I'm happy with that.
Right.
I would almost rather take the
Yeah.
risk. It's about quality of life, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I have to say, my doctor, she must have really good relationships with specialists because I don't seem to have to wait very long. So that's good. But I agree with you. Quality of life is so much more important. I remember a nurse saying to me years ago when I was first put on a medication that I was going to have to be on for a while. And I said, is there any evidence that this could shorten my life? And she said, but won't it be a better life?
Ooh.
That stuck with me, and I thought, there is no evidence. It hadn't been around long enough, but she's right. What is the point of being in misery but living along?
Yeah, but don't forget, there are commercials for erectile dysfunction on television every second ad. If it's not for gambling online, it's for erectile dysfunction. And so we know where the priorities are, Lisa, and they're not with us. You can bet on that.
Yeah. Sometimes this is a place where we test the theory that confession is good for the soul.
Oh my God. I think of you every time I'm on the road and see one of these things. This is one of my favorite Lisa moments of all time. And it's coming up. You told me about something that happened to you last week, and there was a certain element of being mortified about it. And I thought, oh, I wonder if she'll talk about this on Gracefully and Frankly. And honestly, Lisa, I would totally respect you if you chose not to, but I do respect you even more for choosing to share this. So this takes jam. Okay.
Okay, all right. Well, I have to give a little bit of context. First, I want to say in my defense that I scroll past people all the time on social media with all this stuff. I don't even engage, I don't do anything. But Port Stanley, where I live, is a fishing village. It's still very much operated as a fishing village. And there was a boat that came into harbor this season from another town not far away that hadn't been here for a couple of years. And they had one of those black F. Trudeau flags up on top. Now, this flag is flying higher than even the Canadian flag. It's flying way up top. And it's meant to be seen, right? Like nobody's trying to be subtle here.
Can I ask you, is it F or is it the whole, all four letters?
Oh, it's the whole word.
Oh.
I'm just trying to shorten it
Oh,
here.
yeah.
So there was a lot of chatter on Facebook about it because the village's big weekend that's called Calypso was just on the last long weekend. And this boat was in the harbor with its big flag on it. And people were talking about, freedom of speech and blah, blah, blah. And why is this flag up above the Canadian flag? And just on and on. People, our kids have to see it and they're asking about it. So Derek and I were on our walk, which we do every day. And there's this boat. So I said to Derek, talk me out of it. He goes, don't you say anything. Just joking. I really had no intention of saying anything. I didn't think I did. The guy was there beside the boat putting gas in his pickup truck. And Derek said to him, that's a rough start to the day or something like that. And the guy went, oh, yeah, whatever. And I said, especially under that stupid flag. And Derek, you can just see Derek's face fall. So I'm walking away from it at this point, and the guy goes, "You don't like that flag?" And I said, "If you want to F him so badly, at least he's single now." Oh, Aaron. Oh, Aaron.
Oh, no.
And Derek picked up his stride. And I was laughing at myself, and the guy yelled, "Yeah, well, you can go F yourself." And I laughed even louder and just kept walking. So this is not the stoic behavior that I aim for. I am not proud of this. I'm telling you this despite being mortified by my behavior. This is not how I behave. Derek was furious because a guy who's that in your face.
Did you worry at any time that there might be a physical altercation? Because that's Rob's thing. He's always like, don't get me in a fight. Because Rob has never thrown or taken a punch.
Right. No, we were quite a ways away at this point. He was still pouring gas into his pickup truck. He was just mad as hell that I would say something like that because I'm intimating that the F means obviously not what he intends it to mean.
Right.
And that's the joke. I mean, I've seen a lot of people do that. It's sort of a fight back thing that people are doing on social media saying, "Oh, wow, you want to sleep with a guy so badly." And they have to go, "That's not what it means." And that's the fun of it, is that you take the steam out of it. It stayed with me for quite a while because I just felt like, who is this person? What happened to me? And I think Derek's comment later was, if you're going to yell at somebody and be a jerk, do it when I'm not around. And that's fair. I don't know whether he thought he would get drawn into it. And like I say, I am really not proud of this whatsoever. And it's the opposite of being a stoic. But this is the reason why I call my series Stoic in Training.
Right.
Because I'm not there yet.
Oh, my God.
Okay, but some of the response, I told you, I didn't tell my brother. He has no idea. I did tell one other friend, and she said, well, look, this guy has got a flag flying that he wants to put in your face. And you were just responding to it. And I thought that's one way to look at it. But the other way to look at it is I could have just kept walking.
So what would Marcus Aurelius or any of the Stoics, what would they have done? Just said nothing. Good day, sir.
I said good day. They would have just kept walking and looked the other way. The idea is to, when you're a Stoic, is to behave in a way that shows others grace. I'm laughing because there was no grace there.
You know what? You're human, and it is offensive to have that four-letter word, any four-letter word, out for everybody to see. Then there's no reason why a child should have to read that, no matter what their age. At reading age, there's still an innocence or a sense of what's okay and what's not. And you're trying to teach them in your home that is one of the big words that you don't use, along with the S word, which of course is stupid. It's just me. And I agree with you. And that same voice, the angel and the devil, like I talked about last week at the end of Oppenheimer, saying, that wasn't Barbie. That's the voice.
I was like a little kid who was out of control and could not hold myself back. I just felt like it was a compulsion, almost like it was something otherworldly, like somebody else had a hand in my back and was moving my mouth, and yet I take full responsibility for it. But, all the little kids down at the harbor, all the visitors, the tourists, everybody at the harbor on that weekend, you stop and you look at those boats and you look up and go, what's that flag? What's that? People do it. And it bothered me that on this special weekend, this person was allowed to come and taint that. However, it changed nothing that I said anything, except now he's probably just watching out for me. But I wouldn't advise it. I regret doing it, even though it did feel good at the time.
It's entirely likely that you weren't the first or the last to mention to this guy in some way that his flag was offensive. If he's allowed free speech, you should be allowed free speech too. And it doesn't make it right.
I pledge to do better.
We cannot thank you enough for sharing the first 39 episodes with us. We will talk to you again next week. Don't forget our Facebook page, Gracefully and Frankly. You can always email us. One of us will be there to answer you. gracefullyfrankly@gmail.com. Arrivederci, Miss Elisa.
Pasta la vista.
That's good.